Ellie.
Hey.
What are you doing?
Just fixing my notes. I mean, I don't have notes. Who needs notes?
You need notes.
Your notes.
I don't need
notes. You said you were going to say you were fixing your nose.
I was fixing my nose.
Your nose. Notes.
You started with current events last time. Do we have any current events?
Current events?
Remember last time we started, you're like, you don't even have like a current event?
Isn't that what you did like when you were like in
middle school or something? Like every
4th
current
or 5th grade?
events.
Okay, we're starting the day with current
I felt
events.
like you knew a lot about the news at that point.
Yeah, I don't know
Did
anything
you as a child?
about the news now.
I feel like I just picked a random thing and was like,
Yeah, whatever my dad was watching.
Yeah.
I used to read the newspaper every day.
You did?
My morning routine in high school was like,
Read the newspaper.
well,
Drink
I'd
a
wake
glass
up
of orange
at,
juice.
yeah.
Yeah, I read the newspaper and then I drink some Metamucil. I made that up.
That's a lie.
That is a lie. What is Metamucil, by the way? I don't even know.
I think that has something, yeah. Keeps you regular, silver.
Oh, I don't have issues with that. I am regular.
Letting everyone know that you need a little help in that department, but you don't.
Nah, I'm
Hey,
solid.
at what age do you have to
Literally.
get a colonoscopy?
It's
coming up, right?
Why are you laughing?
Oh, jeez.
Is that coming
I
up?
don't even know. Some of these things we can't talk about on this podcast. I think it's supposed to happen when you're 50. I mean,
Yeah,
I got a few
you're
weeks.
approaching, huh?
A few weeks.
You're
a few weeks away from a colonoscopy?
Well, from 50.
Okay, so not
when's your birthday, Jim?
August.
Everyone.
August what?
August.
August.
You know, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to move right on past that.
Rich's birthday's tomorrow.
My birthday is
Hey,
tomorrow.
all right.
Yay!
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
What do you want for your birthday?
For you to leave me alone for a whole day.
Well, that's never happening. You better pick something else.
Hey, when is the last time you went a whole day without talking to her? Like a whole day? Well, let's just say, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying without any communication. 10, 11, 12, 13 years?
Too long.
Well, you've only known me for what,
anytime
4?
anytime I'm out of the
3?
country, I don't activate my phone. So probably one of those last times I was out of the country.
When's
So
the last
that's your
time
only
you-
escape.
You had a whole day where you didn't actually even look at your phone. Like you didn't text or communicate or email. You ever do that? Like when you go on
I
vacation?
wish.
Like,
I try to just leave, like if we go out to eat or something, or like last night we went out, one of our friends it was their birthday, so we went out on their boat, and so I just left my phone in the car.
Yeah.
That way I didn't even have it.
yeah.
And so you're not even tempted to look at it. I completely forgot it, and then I got back and I had 29 text messages.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
That feels so
You
good,
have a lot
though.
of traffic.
So much traffic.
I mean, holy mackerel.
I was listening to a comedian the other day, and he makes everybody that comes to his shows put their phones in a bag. There's like a little velvet bag you get before you walk into the auditorium, and you're not allowed to bring them in. Period. You can't even come to a show. If you want to bring your phone, don't come to the show.
Yeah. Well, they were saying that too, that's even affecting like big businesses. They're saying, so like, you go into a boardroom and you have like 10 or 15 minutes before the meeting starts. And they say now like the common scene that you see is people sitting there all doing this. Whereas if you're actually building like general like relationships with people, you're sitting there and you're learning like, oh, they have 2 kids. They were at soccer practice at this point. They were doing this or
Right.
that. So now instead of having personal relationships with these people that you're only meeting with every so often and being able to like
on the
communicate with
phone.
them,
Right.
now everyone's just like, so that, I mean, the advice behind it was, don't bring your phone don't even like have it upside down. Like
Right.
just don't even bring it because you're going to be tempted, like you're saying, to
Yeah.
look at it.
That's really true. It's, it's funny, the whole online thing, you think you actually know somebody through the phone or through email or something, and you really don't.
Yeah.
You just really don't.
yeah, you don't connect with them that way.
When you, like, it's so funny. I mean, I'm told I met Kristen online. And we're going to be married 7 years here.
Wow. Lucky number 7.
Yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah.
It was good. I think it was a good way for somebody who had been divorced to meet somebody because it kept us at a distance and made us just kind of get to know each other.
Yeah.
But the first time that we actually met, I talked about, I'm going to give you this big hug.
Yeah.
And, and she somehow snuck around behind me at the airport and I'm standing here waiting for her. But the first time we actually turned and looked at each other,
Yeah.
super awkward.
You're like, that's
Like-
you in the flesh.
Like,
oh
it is really you.
You are a person.
Oh, hi, how you doing?
Well, Well, that
And then-
makes sense.
And then we kind of like turn. I'm like, okay, you ready to go? Like we kind of just went walking away. And
You didn't
we've been
like,
talking for months. Like Skyping for till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, you didn't run to each other and
No,
do the
I wouldn't
old
like that.
dirty dancing, throw her up in the air.
No,
you
right?
know?
DIA, spinning
Yeah.
in circles. No, so I'm just saying, like, yeah, connecting with someone personally is a whole lot different than our phones or our email or
I would agree with that for sure.
yeah.
I actually watched that movie Ready Player One. Have you seen the previews for that?
Oh,
Anybody?
I heard it's a really good
It was
movie
actually-
and good book.
It was actually the movie was pretty good. It's a Spielberg movie, so it has
Okay.
a bunch of like throwback stuff in it. But it's like these people live in a like 2045 and the world sucks and they play this virtual video game. Everybody's playing this video game, so they live in this game. But it's actually pretty good. I was surprised. I was like, yeah, we'll watch it. Let's see what happens. It was
Right.
pretty good.
Huh.
I don't know. Spielberg's pretty darn good.
And so it had like the Back to the Future DeLorean in it. It had a bunch
Oh,
of
that's
other.
cool.
It had a bunch of older. Had the Iron Giant in it. Just a bunch of older movies in it. So it was
I
kind of cool.
gotcha. So part of the premise kind of was living in real life, or living in a game.
Yeah. And so they're basically at the end of it, they're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be in this game so much. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I really would like to completely get rid of my phone, and that's the goal. I mean, at some point I'm going to get there. I'm going to have a minion that does all that for me.
It seems so like it's such a slippery slope because how do you optimize your life and your tasks and what you're effectively doing
Right.
without that piece of technology? Or is there a way to separate it in some regard?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Right.
it's like at some point it's just like, are you being stubborn and trying to shut down because you don't want to conform with the society of
Right.
zombies staring at their phone? Or
Right.
can you actually find a way to like effectively?
Yeah, and I think you can. I think you can do both. I don't have any email or social media on my phone, but I have it on my iPad.
Okay.
And so I go to my iPad and I can do that so that just to discipline myself
Yeah.
because I don't do well. I don't do very good. I'm always looking at it. It rings or,
Yeah. Separation of phone and iPad.
Yeah.
The standoff.
Cost me a little bit more, as far as the products that I have that I had to buy. But you know what? Like I'm old enough to remember, like we didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
We had rotary phones. No joke.
I remember when my dad
Yeah.
had the first like cell phone in cars, and
Yeah,
it was
the bag
literally
phone.
like this,
Brick.
yeah, and it was like stuck in the middle. It was this big,
The
and his
3-watt
first cell
bag
phone
phone.
was this wide,
Yeah.
and it flipped.
My
and it had the
mom had
little
one of
thing that
those.
like,
And it had like a leather case that went around it. It was just equally as large.
Yeah,
it was
it
so
was huge.
ridiculous.
Who was it that was talking about that? It was a podcast or something. I think it was Rogan. He
Yeah.
was saying that his dad would let him borrow it or whatever, but it costs like
Oh, yeah.
$130 a call or something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh
So
my
like, don't ever
gosh.
use it
Yeah.
in case of
unless
emergency.
emergency.
That was my first job right out of college, was selling cell phones.
Was it MCI or something? Right?
Well, no, the cell phone, I was kind of in that telecommunications thing, so I got a job with what was Cellular One and selling those big old
Cellular
bag
One.
phones and those brick phones to businesses and
Palm Pilots and all that kind
Oh
of
my
all of
gosh.
that stuff.
Too.
Yeah.
I remember Blackberries and all that. Gosh.
It's really crazy what the difference is now, just in my lifetime between.
I mean, even just in the time that I've had one. I mean, I remember I got dad's like hand-me-down Nokia.
Yeah, like the
Like
blue
snake
screen.
on, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was my
It
first
wasn't
phone.
even a flip phone. It was like a little like
was a stick
kind
phone,
of
yeah.
Yeah.
Nokia.
crazy.
And then now none of those
the
companies are
pixelated.
around it. Like Nokia was huge for a while,
Right.
gone. BlackBerry,
It was huge.
gone.
I just saw an ad the other day. They got a new phone.
BlackBerry does?
Yeah, they're making a comeback.
Oh, wow.
How?
I don't know.
That's
I saw
impressive.
it was like
Sorry, I
kind
don't
of a
mean
square looking little
Oh.
Motorola. They used to make
Motorola,
those.
yeah.
The
I had a-
MicroTac.
The
and-
Razor, yeah.
The
Yes.
Razor.
I had a
That was a
Motorola.
big one.
Yeah.
Gray
We'll have-
Motorola. LG
Yeah.
Oh man.
was in phones. Well, I guess they're still in phones, aren't they? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Apple and Samsung, I feel like, are the only two now.
Yeah, that are really
Globetrotting.
relevant.
Well, then you have Google.
I did get my girls like a phone really early though, just like an emergency phone because I was panicked about that.
Knowing where they were.
No, I just wanted them to have the ability to call in an emergency.
Well,
So
now
they
they're
always-
like glorified tracking devices too. So
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I could see why parents would, here you go.
Yeah, take
this
this.
with you everywhere you go.
I know everywhere you are.
Keep it on at all times. So I've been listening to this week Ed Milet. Have you ever heard of him?
Nope.
super inspiring guy. I don't know how I stumbled upon him because I feel like I've been kind of listening to like the same troops over and over again. And then I just stumbled upon him and he had some like solid gems. So I thought we'd go through some of those and see what you guys, and a lot of it, I like them because I found a lot of parallels to, it's so funny. And I always tell you this. So you listen to all these like growth mindset, like speakers and people now, and so much of what they say has parallels to the mindset program, but they're missing like how it all comes together. But he had some cool parallels too. So I thought maybe we just go through some of those.
Let's do it.
Yay. I can't wait.
Well,
I know this is your
What
favorite.
do you want to talk
Look
about?
of excitement on your
I'm
face.
just kidding.
Right?
Let's go.
I was like, would you like to start off with something else?
Nope. Let's go.
Okay. So his favorite quote, that which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate, from Malcolm X. Agree or disagree? That which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate.
If you don't hate it, don't you already tolerate it?
Yeah.
I guess so.
That seems reasonable.
I think so. His idea behind it is he says that like average is kind of like an anesthetic. So like if you're doing everything average in life, it's like he's a little more aggressive in some of his words. So it's like someone that's just like a little bit overweight. You're just a little pudgy. Like to them, it's like, well, I'm like around the average. It's fine. And he was saying, well, in my mind, you're fat. Like, so if you are constantly saying that average is okay, it becomes an anesthetic and you don't have that push to actually be going this way. You're more sliding this scale until you wake up and
Morbidly obese.
Yeah.
I think one of your core values comes to my mind, intentional. And we talk a lot in the Mayhem Mindset game about being intentional about what you say and what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Intentional versus balance. Balance means you're pretty good at a lot of things, but intentional is, we want to pick out a couple of 3 things that we can be great or excellent at and be intentional. Rich Froning is not balanced in how he lives as far as fitness goes. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, he's extremely intentional about training and what he puts in his body and, all the things that are going on in your life. So that kind of reminds me of that sort of idea.
Yeah. Well, and I think, the other point he was making was you're going to get out of life what you accept, and what you think you're worth, and what you would tolerate is what you will surround yourself with.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Especially like in the worth side of things. Like I think people tend to gravitate towards people that they have commonalities with. So if you don't think much of yourself, you're not going to surround yourself with. I love that phrase. Like you're the sum of, like we've talked about it before. Like you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and I really believe in that.
Yeah.
We're too contagious to one another to not pick up on those things.
Yeah.
And it's like. And even from like a competitive standpoint, like we're so competitive, like if you're getting better at something, I'm like, well, I want to learn that. I want to be better at like, it's like when you guys got the bows, I was like, well, I want a bow. Like you're bettering yourself. Why can't we do like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a big part of it, you know?
I actually got a new bow yesterday.
I know.
Have you played with it yet?
No. I've got
envious.
I've got to get it assembled.
What's different in that one and your last one?
It's the RX1. It's a brand new, like the newest one they have out.
It's a Hoyt bow.
Yeah, it's Hoyt.
So
RX1.
it's kind of like the Cadillac.
Oh, but like
Kinda
what's the
best.
difference between like a mid-range bow and a high-end bow?
Weight, a bunch of different stuff actually.
Okay, so it's like it's like a bicycle. It's components, like
Yes.
better, lighter components,
Yes.
more.
Yes.
Cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little more expensive.
Are you still shooting yours or not really?
I have a ton up until about 4 weeks ago, and then we got super absorbed in getting this Mayhem Mindset stuff finished and haven't spent any time. But
That makes
I love
sense.
it. It's really, it's my favorite thing to do first thing in the morning, actually.
Is the bow?
Yeah, just kind of like meditation.
What time do you do it?
7:30.
In the morning?
Yeah.
Every day?
Yeah.
Will you do it in the winter?
I don't know. I never thought about that. It hasn't been cold enough not to since I've had it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so do you agree with this? Do you think the 2 greatest motivators in people, they say, are the gaining of pleasure or the avoidance of pain? Do you think that is how most people operate?
Yeah. Right off the top of my head, I'd say those are 2 big time influencers in our lives.
Let's see. How do you help people not begin to erode their self-confidence?
Not begin to erode their self-confidence.
He was saying that there's no difference between self-confidence and self-trust.
I never thought about it like that.
Erode their self-confidence.
But I feel like you interact with people all the time that are struggling with confidence. What is that? How do you first address that?
That, for what we're doing, that goes back to this idea of defining yourself. We circle back around to,
am I enough?
Yeah, that's the question.
Right.
In your greatest moments of opportunity or in that darkest hour, are you enough? Can you count on yourself, and can other people count on you? And I think in order to have that answer, you got to know who you are as an individual. And so, I want somebody to take their talents and figure out really what that is. What kind of comes out of you naturally? What do you do without even knowing it? And then what do you believe? What are your core beliefs? Mm-hmm. What are those? Because those are kind of the big rocks in your life. And then put that all together in some sort of language. So somebody who's not self-confident really doesn't really know who they are and doesn't understand what their value is.
That's fair. He was saying too that like if you are struggling with self-confidence, that a segue back into that, like, so knowing yourself, I think without question is going to be, paramount. But
Right.
The other conversation was start making promises with yourself and keeping them. So like even like small steps of like, like discussing like your morning routine or something like that, like,
Right.
Whatever your workouts are going to be or whatever, actually executing on those will kind of recalibrate.
Yeah, we wrote a code. That's part of this process. Write a code. Put what you believe into language and make yourself accountable to it. Like you said, make a promise. I made a promise to myself back in those dark times that this is what I was going to do every day when I got up. Mm-hmm. And I had it in language so I could just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And when I didn't do it, I went and asked forgiveness where I needed to. Mm-hmm. And I fleshed it and started over and got up the next day and aimed at my truth again and began to try to develop. And so some of the values that I believe in were really kind of strengths in my life. Some of those values were values that were the opposite of the negative emotions that seemed to kind of always haunt me, that always crept back into my life. And the other ones were ideals, things that I was working at, implementing in my life, things that I was putting out in front of me. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, it's so funny too. We were laughing the other day, it's like this time of year with like the games and training and everything. And like, it's amazing to see like when your body is like physically under duress and tired, and then like, pressure starts to seep in and important things come up. Like all of a sudden we were laughing the other day. We're like, well, one day this week, someone's cried every day this week, like it starts to wear on you so much. And something like in this thing I was listening to was the minute you become external and you start worrying about what everyone else is saying, thinking, doing, you lose all control.
Yeah.
So you're immediately like, as things are getting heightened, we start to worry about what else is happening. And now you're out of control, which I think makes you spiral. Like, why do you think that is? Like literally a couple weeks before the games every year, everyone is like, we're super excited. We're still doing what we love to do every day.
Mental breakdown. Everybody has a mental
but
breakdown.
Everyone is like freaking out. And you're like, what's in the water this week? Like, what is going on? And I just thought that was just so true. Like,
I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that one.
Well, I think.
Have you spiraled this week? Have you cried?
No.
Did you cry in training this week?
Absolutely not.
I brought some tissues in case you were going to sob today.
Have you ever cried in training?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Has he ever cried?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a good question.
It's been a while.
What's funny? You got up the other day and at the end of a workout and you were like, can't quote you, but you're like, man, I am ready to get to the games.
Yeah.
I'm just ready to do this.
Yeah.
And I think all of you guys are at the spot physically where you're tired. You've trained hard,
yeah.
And now you're trying to recover and kind of ramp back up. And then just emotionally and mentally, it wears on you, what you guys have done. And as the kind of end goal is in sight, I think you have to kind of slow down, recalibrate.
Yeah.
That, I know it's been said a million times, but the two things we can control are our attitude and our effort.
yeah.
And you were talking about, as you begin to look externally at these other things, you can start to break down. I think that's really where you got to focus back on, all right, what do I got to do to take care of me here?
Right.
and make sure I'm in the position to best serve and help the team. And I think some of that's just a result of all that you've been doing. It's pretty normal.
Right.
You know? And you know what? How you recalibrate and how you get back focus is going to determine and go a long ways to determine whether you're going to be competitive or not. You're going to show up ready to go. And
Right.
Well, that's kind of like he was talking to, because this guy works with a lot of professional athletes, and the question was like, how do you get an athlete out of a slump? And he's like, it's the most ridiculous thing to me. Professional football player or baseball player, like if they're in a slump, they still know how to hit a baseball. Yeah. They still know how to catch a football. It's not about telling them, okay, let's go back and we're going to reteach how to catch a football. He's like, no, you hit an extra bucket of golf balls. You go to batting practice at this time, the same thing, keeping promises to yourself. Say you're going to hit an extra 100 balls, whatever, and you're slowly bringing your confidence back when you start keeping these habits and things you say you're going to do to yourself to recalibrate that way, which I don't know how you would parallel that to CrossFit. I don't know how you could take the chaos and pressure of a couple weeks before the games and make people normal again, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to enjoy it. And, I mean, it's all mental. That's what it is. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you're saying slump, I'm thinking like when you think you can't hit the ball, but you're like, or you like you've gone through this long slump. It's all mental. Like you've done it before. You just think, oh my gosh, the past 10 times I've been up to bat, whatever, I haven't hit the ball.
Yeah, it's just you got to stop.
Same thing with
thinking
a
about
bad
that.
workout.
You're
you just gotta let it go.
Yeah. You gotta let that go.
I sucked at that one.
Yeah,
Well,
when you start pressing, that's when you start screwing up. Yeah.
Well, I thought a cool concept too was, Chris, will you look up reticular activating system?
Ooh, yep.
So, have you ever heard of like a gratitude totem? I've heard of this before, like stacking gratitude.
No.
So it's chemical. So every day, if you're, what are you guys grateful for today? This is an actual question. Like, what's something you're grateful for today?
My kids.
yeah, like the first thing I thought of today was how incredible this day was when I walked outside.
Beautiful. I was
Gorgeous place to be alive, gorgeous place to live.
Yeah. I was excited to have this conversation.
Right.
That we get to do this morning. That this is how we're starting our day.
Right.
But so if you condition yourself, whether it be like every time you get in your car, every time you walk out your front door, you pick wherever it is. Every time you do that, you think of something you're grateful for.
Right.
You could do that 100 times a day in different areas of your life, but it's called a gratitude totem. So now throughout your day, instead of reacting to what's going on constantly, you're going to get these hits of, oh, what am I thankful for? What am I thankful for? So, and it keeps coming up. So that makes you a more positive, thankful person. And reticular activating system, apparently, whatever, what you start, I don't know, seeing or doing, you see more of. I guess it's like saying the color red. Now you're going to look for red. You see red, there's red, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought that was pretty powerful. Like if I walk through the barn doors every day and I remember what am I grateful for at that moment, I'm going to do that every day.
Yeah. I think that's a really big deal. I think whatever it takes to get outside of self, to get outside of you and thinking about
What's
yourself
going on,
and your problems. And so there are a lot of different kinds of techniques to do that. Rich and I have, we had a couple of meetings last week about ways that, we're talking about making sacrifices for somebody else as a way of life. And that's key, right? To living in purpose. If you really want to live in purpose, you got to do something first that's difficult. And then really, if you want to go deep, you got to do something for somebody else or make a sacrifice for somebody else. And I think that kind of a lifestyle puts you in that place that you're talking about, where I know as a part of who I am as a human being, I know who I am, I know what I believe, and then I'm also willing to really sacrifice and give something of myself for somebody else, whether it's my family today or somebody in our community. And so we're trying to design our lives in an intentional way where that's a part of who we are. And that includes being thankful and gratitude.
So just so everyone knows what the reticular activating system is, it's a bundle of nerves at our brainstem that filters out unnecessary information so the important stuff gets through. Is that right?
So anything that Ellie says, I just get rid of. That's what that is.
No. See, I'm just going to keep hammering
Activate
this.
that bundle
So
of
now
nerves.
you're just going to start thinking about
now
it.
I get it. I use that a lot.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What was it called again? Reticular what?
Activating system.
Oh.
So it's like if you talk about so say you decide you want to buy a new car and say you want a Jeep. You're going to drive down the road and every freaking...
So I'm blocking this out right now. I'm using that, right?
Stop! You
You're
can't.
activating
No.
your reticular activation system.
No. Now you're gonna drive down the road and
Initiating
see.
reticular activation
Yes.
system.
You better not think that when you see me.
Need a button on your phone for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if you were thinking about buying a Jeep, you'd probably drive down the road and you would see every Jeep.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's like,
Because you think that you're making the Jeep important in your brain, so that's why you notice it, basically.
well,
right?
I think
Or-
it's kind of like, apparently it's whatever you focus on, even if you're not trying to make it important, but like if you're obsessing over it,
That makes sense.
And that's why they're saying like like in these times right now, like so leading up to the games, like say something or a movement or whatever is stressing you out, and you think about that every time you walk in here, you see whatever it is that's stressing you out, you will obsess over it, and then with your reticular activation system, whatever,
Wow.
that's why it becomes. I know you guys hate science. I'm sorry.
Well, it
take it
sounds
back.
like that's something on a ray gun or something like,
I know,
like-
it sounds so cool.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's true, but
It's like a couple years ago when I found out there was an arrow in FedEx
Oh my
between the E and the
gosh.
X. And now I don't see the FedEx logo. I just see the arrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
See,
You can't
perfect
unsee that.
example.
Yeah, wait. Next time you've never noticed that?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, look at the FedEx logo.
Okay.
Between the E and the X, there's an arrow.
Yeah, I'll look
where
it up so
the
you can see it.
middle
Yeah,
line of the
yeah.
E and the X, they're connected, and the X, it makes an arrow.
That's cool.
There's other
It is really
companies
cool.
that their logo is kind of like that, but none of them are as crazy as
No,
the
I
FedEx
never
one.
knew that. And then now that's all I see.
Is it how you're feeling right now?
Uh-huh.
Is it always been that way in the last 9 years of your competition? Is this pretty much par for the course when it comes to a couple weeks out from the games?
I feel like more and more it gets pushed back where I'm like, man, I wish it was just 2 weeks between the Open and
Right.
regionals, 2 weeks between regionals and games. It's just such a long season and a drag at this point.
I never saw that before.
Now it's all you're going to see.
It's all you're gonna see.
smokes.
The FedEx truck pulled up behind me too. Hey, it's even in the one in the other language. Look at that.
That is
See the
cool.
arrow in the other one?
Yeah, but it goes backwards.
But it's still there.
Wow.
Wow, FedEx, nicely done.
Wow.
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 When do you actually start thinking about the competition piece? Because I know that's not something that you're really thinking about right now. When does that actually happen for you?
It's almost the inverse of what we just talked about. It like gets later and later
yeah.
the more and more I've done. I mean, I'm going on 9 years, so
Right.
it's been a long time.
You never look stressed. You don't really look stressed.
No. Last year I was stressed before that run, swim, run just because I hadn't ran in a long time because of my knee. So
Yeah.
Well, you got to be my partner. Where
yeah.
are you so wasn't that so calming?
no, it was not.
Is there anything that you're
I
specific?
didn't know if I should speak or not. I was like, will Rich kill me if I talk?
Yes, I will.
And the first, so in practice, we're like, practicing the run, swim, run, and like they didn't have mats out or anything.
Right.
So we're like going to like jump in and swim. I hit the algae and my
the
feet
ramp?
are at my eye level, and I was like, "Schwap!"
On
Rich
cement?
is, yes, Rich is already 4 strokes ahead of me, and I'm just lying there, and like there were so many people around just watching. I was like, I'm just gonna lay here for a second.
Melt into the water.
During the event?
No, it was while we were practicing, and I just
didn't-
watched him
during
swim
the event.
off.
I think they had that sponge,
Oh, it did make it like
Stuff
a
down,
little
yeah.
bit better.
but we just practiced it like the day or two before,
Yeah.
just like entries and exits into the water.
Yeah.
And I think I fell once too and jacked up my
skidded
ankle.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
It was-
Nothing's as bad as when you see your feet at your eye level and you're like, this is not going to end well. Like, there's nothing you can
You
do.
guys did really good.
We did well, yeah.
That was kind of right in both your wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah.
That was
You were
good.
incredible. You hadn't run at all and you crushed
I
it.
thought I was gonna die.
You
Yeah.
did great.
The swim, I was fine.
Yeah.
Second run, I was like, okay, this is not fun.
Yeah.
How long did you wait for me out of the water?
Luckily, I had a decent break. Not crazy, but a decent break.
Do you have any kind of, traditions or,
Superstition.
superstition kinds of things
When I was a
that-
baseball player, I never really, baseball players are super
Yeah.
superstitious.
Yeah.
I never had anything. No real superstitions. I start getting. I'll have dreams where, like I had one the other night that I was playing baseball, and no matter how hard, like when you get in a fight in
Yeah.
a dream and you try to punch somebody, it's like there's no
Yeah.
anything behind it. I had the same thing with like a baseball swing or like trying to run. You're like
Right.
stuck in sand.
Oh, that's the
Right.
worst.
You're just like, what the heck happened? Yeah. So I don't know, and I'm not stressed whatsoever about competition, but I've
Yeah.
had those dreams lately, and I'm like, great, here
Yeah.
they come. just frustrates you.
I know we've talked a lot about, your values perspective, but is there anything that you do when it comes competition time, to really get yourself present, or is it something you're able to really just kind of dive right into and
I think
you're just there?
I can just be there.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much. Just kind of ready.
Yeah.
Like I said, been doing it for so long.
That's right. You're prepared. You've done it.
Yeah, we've done the work, and it's just kind of like executing on that work and just hoping that the events come out.
He actually like goes into the corner of the athlete village and does like a dance and then a couple circles and then he sings and
Lights
then
a
he
couple
goes out. Yeah,
candles.
no one knows it, but just kidding.
How weird would that be?
Nope, that's not me.
The secrets of Rich Froning. He dances in the back of athlete village.
I do start pacing. I do notice that. Like I'll walk back and forth, but not as much when team wise, just because there's so many people. And it's not even like a nervous pace. It's just like I don't know.
You gotta start moving. Yeah.
There's so much waiting going on too.
Yeah.
At least last year.
We should come up with, even though it's not true, we should come up with the whole thing.
A ritual.
The secrets of Rich Froning.
That's why I was like dancing
Just
in
the
the
most
corner.
ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Stuff that you
Some
would never do.
sage.
Chapter 1,
Mm-hmm.
candle therapy. And at the end be like, nah. Chapter 2.
Nah, dude.
Just kidding.
Just nah at the end.
Nah. That sounds just like him. Well, I mean, that's kind of...
Knitting. Yeah, knitting.
Knitting, yep. Crocheting.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to sew or knit anything?
I have tried to like repair something in high school.
Did it work?
Yeah.
Or
Not
did it end
greatest.
in shambles?
Not the greatest.
I've
but
seen you
it's
do
fine.
some good work with duct tape.
I can
Duct tape.
duct tape
What
like
did
a
you
champ.
duct tape?
The worm?
Hmm?
I know how to duct tape.
You know they just came out with clear duct tape?
What?
What?
Oh,
Isn't that mailing tape?
What?
Isn't that mailing tape?
No. I don't know. You know what? It was Gorilla Tape.
Oh.
Because duct tape,
Isn't
the
that
whole
the
idea is
same
it's
thing?
kind of like fibers,
Right.
interwoven fibers and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, but they can make
Yeah,
clear
how
ones out of recycled plastic, too.
Oh, here we go.
I'm just saying. Just trying to save the planet.
Save
It's
the
fine.
turtles.
So it was next point.
Next
It was
point.
actually kind of what we just said.
Okay.
The quickest way to change your emotion and your state is by moving your body.
Move your body.
Move your body.
Yeah, I
So
like that.
basically, how you move is indicative of what's going on inside.
There's no
Which
question.
I like totally agree with.
No
you know,
question.
like you see someone like you can tell a lot about a person how they move around. I think.
Body language.
There
Yeah.
isn't any question that if you're aware enough, I've been around you guys all long enough now that I know exactly where you're at by how you move.
Mm-hmm.
You can just tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely just tell.
So what kind of day am I having?
Huh.
What kind of day is he having?
Man. We don't have enough time on this podcast to get into that.
Wasn't that mind blowing?
No, you're fine. It's fine.
It's
We're
fine.
all
We're
fine.
All fine.
Oh my gosh.
What else you got there on the...
Oh, you're
Docket.
gonna love this. He was talking about the thermostat.
Oh,
And
I do like this.
I know, I do. And he kind
Don't
of
touch the thermostat.
why? What
who controls the thermostat, by the way, at your
Me.
house? Yeah. Is it different for you and Hillary? Like, do you like different temperatures in the house, kind of a thing, or?
No, we like it. I mean, I think I have it set to where during the day I think it's around 70, 71, and then at night it's like 67.
That's where we're at.
Yeah, I need it cold. It's got to be cold
Me
to
too.
sleep.
I want
Told
to be
ya.
under the blankets.
contagious.
67 at night, 70 during the day.
Nice.
Yep.
That's solid. So he kind of approaches a thermostat like he kind of gets to the point that you make with the thermostat,
Okay.
but starts with it saying that your identity is like a thermostat. So
Okay.
if someone comes in and like gets you super amped, either it be super happy, positive, or super frustrated and down, super hot or cold, eventually you're going to return back to your identity, which is where you are on that thermostat. So,
Yeah, I like that analogy.
but
Yeah.
then he also goes and says, again, like, we were talking about like, the 5 people that you hang out, you're kind of similar to, because he was saying like, if you're around someone who's a 200 degreeer all day long and you're a 50 degreeer, at some point you might acquire more energy or be more like them in that way, or vice versa.
Please, God, no.
You're gonna wake up so happy one day, maybe.
No.
Nah, dude.
No,
So
you're not.
energetic.
Nope.
Where's your energy right now? What's your thermostat number?
52.
Good grief. I'd like to say I'm 300.
You have a lot of energy for it being like, what is it, 8:30 in the morning?
It was
I
8:30.
anticipated this from the last time we had a morning one. What's
Right.
your thermostat, by the way?
My thermostat, like right now?
Like generally.
I never thought about it like that.
What's the high level? What's the low? Like, what are you?
Okay, we'll say 100 is the highest, and we'll say 10 is the lowest.
Well, you're forcing me to think about
There's
these
zero. Zero should be the lowest.
terms
Yeah.
that
Yeah, that's what I'm like,
I know.
10?
Yeah.
Nah, just keeping them on their toes.
Are you asking what
Yeah.
people think?
All
I'd
of
say
you,
I'm
the
like
three
a
of you.
75.
Yeah. What are you, Cam?
I don't know. I feel like I'm like a 50.
No,
In the middle.
Yeah.
no,
I think
you're
that's-
a little bit more.
60?
yeah, we can't give her more than a 60.
Yeah, she's pretty chill.
Yeah,
most of the
she's
time.
She's so chill. I love that.
What's
you're like
Jim?
Jim's probably about a. You're about a
87.
60.
60.
60, 75. You're around the same.
Yeah.
77.
You're like a 99.9.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I feel that's accurate.
But Ellie does like have her like.
Oh, she has a valley. It's like a 10. You're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
No
But
valleys.
throughout the day, she'll just get real quiet, and then like
Peaks and
all of a sudden,
valleys.
then like if you can get it back out of her, then she's like,
Yeah.
you know,
There's only
back to
3
100.
things I ever need. I'm either hungry, I need to exercise,
Or you need a hug.
or I need a hug.
I
Or
knew
any
that
of
was
those
gonna be
three.
or
it.
a good joke,
Or a
chuckle.
good joke. That'll shoot me right out of the valley. If I'm ever there, that's all I need.
A cheesy joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh,
Like not a-
food
yeah.
puns are my
She
favorite.
is good for that, actually, though, because you can say just kind of a goofy, silly
you
joke.
feel
and
good
she'll
about
crack
yourself.
up, and you feel good about it. You're like, yeah, it was funny.
Oh, food puns. I wish I had one.
I was gonna say, let one go. Let's hear it.
I don't have a good one right now.
What is it we were talking about yesterday that you're like totally eating banana chips all the time now?
Yes,
Here we go. That's perfect.
I sent them
Jim.
pictures of my banana chips last night. That was a story.
Because yesterday, yeah.
I
We're talking about
we
extreme
were working,
personalities.
and I decided I was going to go to the store, and I went past Poets, and all the ladies were there, so we sat down. I just pulled in
You
there
stopped
quick,
in
went in,
to see
said what's
us.
up, and they were. She's talking about how she's addicted to banana chips now. What's
you
the
said
other thing?
you said you have an addictive personality, and I
Right.
said I'm exactly the
Right.
same. And you can see, and I said, for instance, banana chips right now. So I was on other things, and I was like, you know what? It's game season. I'm gonna shift to like a healthier nighttime snack.
Right.
Well, I started eating banana chips before
They're not
bed.
that healthy.
Well, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize how much fat is in a banana
and
chip until
sugar.
at the point. Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes
at
and
night,
yes.
like it was hurting my stomach so bad, and I was like,
Yeah, you can't eat too many bananas, right?
I probably eat about
It messes
10
you
a
up.
night.
Wow.
It's just a dirt dauber.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's not okay.
So it was causing me so much pain. I was like, gosh, this can't be healthy. And I was like, but I still want the banana chips. So now I just push through the pain, and now they don't hurt my stomach
But what did you
anymore.
call it? Like you got to push through the banana chip threshold or something.
No,
Barrier.
The
Yeah,
barrier, the
hashtag-
banana chip barrier.
Break the banana chip barrier.
So I sent them all a picture of my happily plated banana chip bowl.
What was
bowl
the
one
other
of
thing
two.
that was in the bowl?
I eat
You
peanut
guys
butter
pour
filled
your
pretzels.
food in a bowl? Like that type of stuff? I just eat it from the bag. Why
Well,
waste
Yeah, normally I
'Cause you're
have
a
it from the bag,
dude.
but if I have to measure it out, then I have
Oh,
have to
yeah.
put in a thing.
Yeah. Well,
plus
Otherwise,
I-
I'll eat the whole bag.
You
I have
measure
a-
people.
I don't measure it, but I want a banana chip peanut butter pretzel ratio. So in a
Oh,
bowl,
ratio?
I can't just take 2 bins. I'd be sitting on the couch with 2 rectangular containers of.
Yeah, you just reach in the bag, get what you want, close
Walk
up the
away.
bag.
But then
Nah.
the bag never gets closed, and then the stuff is gone, and you're like, "What did
And
I
then
do?"
you've had 8
Yeah, if I'm
eight
getting like that.
servings of banana
like it.
chips.
I eat the whole damn
I
bag
didn't even
too.
like them that much.
Are you? Do you have anything right
It's
now
your
that you're
fault.
like your go-to to eat right now? Is there anything like that? Because I'm eating sea salt and chocolate RX bars. I'm buying those by
Do
the
you want my
box.
honest before I go to bed at night? Because I've got a certain amount of carbs that I have to get, and I don't like to measure things, so I just look at what it is.
Right.
I have a protein shake and 2 toaster strudels,
my
but I only use one of the icing packets on both toaster
Oh,
strudels
jeez.
then it knocks down the sugar.
Right.
It's garbage, but it's awesome.
I haven't had
I
a
love
toaster
that. It's
strudel in
garbage,
so
but it's
long.
awesome.
They
Toaster
taste
strudels
so
are
good.
so good.
So good,
But
dude.
major victory for 1 icing pack.
Oh man.
Right?
I like
gotta
how you
have-
threw that in there.
I've got to have, I think it's 40 or 45 carbs,
Golly.
and a toaster strudel with an icing pack is 27. So if I don't use the icing pack, there's got to be
Then
a
you
ton
can
of
have another toaster
Exactly,
strudel.
right?
And those are good even without the frosting.
And they're good without the
a
frosting.
genius.
Like I used to all the time. I was like, oh, it's got to have all the icing.
Ooh,
But it's
I might have
actually,
to go get some of those.
they're so good.
And I like those I like them cold and toasted.
Yeah,
Either way.
they're hard though because sometimes you get the outside not burnt, but like too crispy and the inside's
Yeah.
still cold. So you got to like toast them at like a 2, let them sit for a minute, and toast them again at a 2.
Toaster strudels all around. Can we
Yeah.
send somebody out
We
It's
should
a
get
lot
some.
harder to decorate them than you think.
to
Just-
decorate
no,
them?
they're not.
Do
You just do the-
what
you just
flavor
do-
do you get?
Strawberry.
Just
Strawberry's
strawberry
good.
all the
Yeah.
time? Because don't they have like a blackberry?
There's
or,
a
like,
blueberry and blackberry. They're
one?
pretty good. I tried the apple, and I'm usually like apple's my go-to.
Yeah.
Like apple pie is my favorite, but
Really?
they're
But
not
it's such
that
like
good.
a thin amount. It's
Yeah, there
gotta
wasn't
not be,
enough. Like
yeah.
the strawberry, man.
We gotta get
So
some.
good.
Yeah. Could get that
Pillsbury
for
actually,
games.
they just sold it. They just sold whoever owned Pillsbury. Who was it? I just read that they sold Pillsbury off of they sold to another company.
You need to get some stock in that.
They're so good.
Well, they've been around
Add that
for...
to your portfolio.
Hopefully they keep the toaster strudel around.
I know.
Yeah.
What is the
I was a
squirrel
little worried.
coming to?
Yeah, because the other day I was at the grocery store and I dabbled a couple nights I've done it, and then I was like, man, because you get a 12-pack. I went with a 24-pack.
Oh my god.
Because I do 2 a night.
Commitment.
That's, you know, like,
That's not gonna
Yeah,
last
it's
long.
economical.
that's right.
You're just being
or
smart
no, it's 6.
financially.
It's usually you get 6.
Yeah.
6 isn't enough. So
No.
I got 12. I got the
Fiscal
12-pack.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Buy in bulk. I'm gonna go to Sam's tomorrow. And
Yeah.
Get a 500
Get
pack.
a room full of. I want a room full of toaster strudels.
He's got a pallet.
Let's just see Rich blow up after
I
the
can't
game.
wait for everybody to freak out that I'm eating toaster strudels.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
you
gonna
gotta
be
get your
great.
carbs. I mean, however you get it in,
Yeah.
that's just the reality.
Gotta do you, man.
Hey,
Gotta live a little once in a while.
That's right.
You gotta live.
it's been every night, Kristen.
Listen, she's trying to help here.
That's right.
What you got?
Well, this is kind of like back shift to more of a real question.
Oh,
Uh,
I want to talk about toaster strudels.
we can keep going on the strudels if you want, but I thought this was actually kind of. It's funny because like when you hear someone say something, you're like, oh, that is true. I don't know if it's true to you guys or not. But it was so things in life, like how do you get under the weight of X from your past? Like how do you get under the weight of growing up and being the smallest one on the team? How do you get out of the weight of you had an alcoholic parent? How do you get out of the weight of whatever, something that goes with you later in life and that is kind of ingrained as part of like your identity? How do you get rid of the hard lines of the past?
I think that's, if you go with Jim's stuff, the getting past the story,
Yeah.
figuring out who you are, and that doesn't really define who you are, is what somebody else did or what you've done in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Those kinds of stories you have to work at that enough to where they're no more important than maybe what you had for breakfast today.
Yeah.
Talk about it like that, and that's hard to do.
Oh yeah.
There's forgiveness. Yeah, work on some of those kinds of things when it comes to that, and then I think you have to replace those stories with these positive values.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal, actually. That's a really important part of the mayhem mindset process.
A lot of people get hung
There's
up
a
on
whole section on that.
That goes with
and-
people for their whole lives. I mean, that's. Oh, that's.
Spider?
that. Buzz.
Oh, jeez.
No, there's a spider right there.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Look at that spider right there, getting ready to.
Yuck. That's
There's
pretty gross.
Spiders everywhere.
some sort of a giant fly in that web up there, and that spider's getting ready to. This reminds you that we're in
It's
a barn.
alive still?
In a
Yeah.
gym, in a barn.
But I mean,
Anyways,
the
I'm sorry, back to
no,
stories.
You're good.
That was a hardcore rabbit trail.
We're going everywhere on this.
It was just saying that.
Rabbit trail or rabbit hole?
Both.
Did we figure that out?
What was the answer to that? It was
I
a
don't remember.
rabbit trail,
Someone
rabbit hole.
said something besides a rabbit hole.
Wormhole.
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 Yeah.
But rabbits
Let's
live
see.
in holes.
But they use trails, right?
I don't know.
They use trails. They live in holes, but they use trails.
Anyway.
Getting outside the story. That's what we were actually
Yes.
talking about.
And it was saying like the biggest shift and something that makes us extremely happy is when someone helps us identify something that's like one of our like natural gifts. So like for instance, like so say you're the one that's the smallest baseball player on the team. Like you're a kid and you're growing up, but then someone looks at you and says, "Man, like you're really fast." Like that's definitely a gift. And like whether you're a kid and adult, you're like you intuitively know that it's true, and someone identifies it, so then you you grab hold of it, and it's not about you being small anymore. It's like, well, I'm the fastest, or hey, you're the hardest working, or you're like, if someone's like, like you're an incredible communicator, or you're inspiring to others, like part of you is like, yeah, I am. Yeah.
So what you just said, translated in the Mayhem Mindset game, is that like stories, or I say they're like a Twitter feed or a Facebook feed, and we all have them. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. They're going on right now in our lives, and getting outside those stories, that's what we have to do to be present and become 100% of what we were created to do today, right? So the way you do that is to remember what your values are or your talents. You just got done saying, hey, you reminded this person that, man, you were born with speed. So we're reminding somebody of who they really are outside of the story. The story doesn't have to define you.
Right.
And a lot of people, they take what's happened in the past and they put it in their present and they put it in their future, and then they get caught in this loop. So we've got to do the work, whatever that happens to be, to make sure that if it's something seriously negative in our lives, that we understand it doesn't really define us. It's something that happened, but it's not who we are.
Right.
And that's a huge challenge. That can be, even if it's positive, just because, you were competitive and won the games last year or the year before that or whatever it happens to be, doesn't mean you're doing that this year.
Right.
Even if it's a positive thing, we got to remember that we got to be here in
Live
this
in
moment.
present. Yeah.
Right here is the only place that matters and that counts, where we can kind of do work. So
I think that's like acknowledgement too, of like when you're acknowledging the gifts that God gave you, like there's power in that too. Like, I mean, your values and getting out a story, but the acknowledgement of that, or someone you care about reminding you of that's something that, you've been
the
Who you're
coolest
created to be. Yeah.
The coolest thing on the planet is to sit in front of somebody and to remind them of their talents and who they are and what they're capable of. And that absolutely breeds hope in their life. I mean, that is my most favorite part. What do? When I stop you and I tell you, Ellie, look at me. Do not forget. And I go through, hey, who's who you were born to be. Understand the story of the day happens to be this, or we're in this tough spot, but do not forget this is what your value is. And you see people's shoulders go back and their eyes get brighter and they remember, oh my God, like this thing today doesn't necessarily have to define me, because it doesn't.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, only you have control over that. I had a lady that I worked with one time, and this is, super intense, but she had been abused in every kind of way you can imagine. And obviously that kind of abuse, that's tough to deal with, and that's tough to kind of come through. And I'll never forget, she came back one day and she said to me, and she kind of recited what had happened to her. And she said, that is now just as important in my life as what I had for breakfast. And she's like, Jim, what did you have for breakfast today? And I'm like, I can't. It's not even that important. And so what she was saying was, okay, the significance of that is now just as significant as what I'm having for breakfast this morning. I don't know if I described that really well there.
You did.
But,
That's good. Yeah.
But she took all the power from that.
We'll talk about liberating. Could you imagine what's defined your entire life?
It was
probably
gigantic.
all of your relationships, probably everything you've ever done, and now all of a sudden it's the same parallel as what you had for breakfast. I'd say that's pretty
Yeah. It was one of the most powerful moments in my entire life with working with somebody. I'm like, yeah, you got it. You're good
You
to
win.
go.
You win.
You're good to go. Like,
your past is like the eggs you had for breakfast. Cool.
yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Do you guys take it personally when someone tries to coach you physically, like in CrossFit or just in life in general? Like,
Well, it's a lot different for me and you.
that's why I thought. That's
No,
why
I welcome it.
It's such a good like juxtaposition, because it's like, do you take it personally when someone tries to coach you in CrossFit? Do you take it personally when someone tries to coach you in life? Gurus.
Oh, there you go.
Each thing.
Yeah.
Do you guys accept that from both sides? It's not just like sports and whatever. Do you
ever
accept
have
both?
anybody even do that? Does anybody ever try to give you pointers on?
It's been a while. I mean, Chris, obviously Hinshaw,
Right.
endurance stuff.
Right.
I mean, yeah, especially if it's somebody that I respect, we have some miles together,
Right.
like they are a specialist in their area or something like that, then yes. But if it's somebody to level one that's just like, oh yeah, you're doing this, and I'm like, thanks, I know I have an early arm pull. Like, millions of people have told me that on Insta or on any video that I've ever posted. Hey, you early arm pull. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know what? I don't know. Like, it's hard with me. I'm always open to perspective. I think I can get perspective from anybody. I don't believe I can learn something from everybody. And those are two very different things.
I remember when you first told me that. I was like, what? I can't learn from everybody? And you're like, no.
Yeah, like I think the people
you don't want to learn from everybody.
No, you
but
don't.
You can gain perspective. Finish though, like that.
Yeah.
You can gain perspective from them.
Even if someone's batshit crazy, you can get perspective from them. You know, it can give you kind of like, oh, okay.
Oh, I don't need to be like that. Right. Well, I knew that.
But when I'm talking about learning, I'm talking about something that I would really want to use to develop my life. And so for the most part, those are people who, and I have those people I'm always trying to learn. They're a little bit older than me or maybe better than me in some areas of life where they think they have some wisdom. And I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely paying attention and trying to develop all the time. So if it's just some Joe guy kind of walking up and trying to instruct you and you don't really have relationship, that's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what you just said.
Yeah.
You know, if Josh was to say something to you and you guys you'd be like paying attention to it.
Yeah,
It'd be
of
kind of
course.
like a mirror, you
Right.
know? So I'm not offended, but
Yeah.
I just filter it.
Yeah. So, but you're not like a person that's like, nah, I've got all the experience.
No,
nah,
heck
you know,
no.
like,
No.
nah, I'm not learning how to whatever from you.
The things that I think I know I only know they're true in my life because I screwed it all up, not because I was so smart. I'm not that dude. I'm not on that level at all.
So this was one of the quotes that this guy who was interviewing the other guy, who's really, really sharp, says that this is what he lives by, or one of the quotes he lives by, and I don't know how I feel about it. He says, your past can never be bigger than your future. And he's saying it from the standpoint of like, that's how he maintains drive. Like no matter what you've accomplished now, like you can always do more, develop more, grow more, this and that. But I don't know. I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that. Your past can never be bigger than your future.
I mean, I guess it could be bigger if you let it be.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the story thing. It's like you can't live in that. Yeah, you can't live in the past on anything, bad or good.
Yeah, and I don't think you can spend a whole lot of time now daydreaming about the future either.
Right.
I think that we all have a past and we have a future, but what really matters, the only place where we can get something done is right now, the present. And so I think being able to have that clear in your mind is super important. I'm not saying you don't plan for the future.
Right.
I'm not saying that, but
he's saying that like the external version of your life in this moment right now is exactly what you created. You've created exactly where you are right now.
yeah.
So if you want something else, or if you want to grow, it is up to you to create that external version. And how are you going to do that? You're going to have to do things differently to continue to create this external version of yourself, I guess.
Absolutely. I talked to a guy yesterday that I remember when he was broke, literally living in a kind of a mobile home, and he made $750,000 this year. And that's, it's a bunch of years later, but we were having that conversation, what did you do? What did you do that was different? He was just as smart this year as he was then, but he had made so many poor decisions, financial ones and then relationship ones are the two biggest ones that'll get you. And that was key in his life that, he had created so much adversity in his life, he couldn't move forward. So you got to clean that stuff up, man. You got to start by getting your life organized and getting rid of some of the chaos and figuring out what you need to do for the day based on who you are.
That was a big thing too, and throughout this talk that I didn't really touch on, but it was saying like chaos reduction, no matter who you are, is one of the most valuable things in life. And this guy was saying like he does it through his morning routine and his evening routine, and then it cleaned up every other aspect of his life by doing that. We've kind of touched on that before.
Yeah.
And that was by creating like, habits and rituals and things like that. But I mean, also his, big questions in creating your external environment were, how do you acquire more peace? How do you acquire more abundance, more memories, more experience, more contribution, more, passion,
Right.
whatever you want to do,
Right.
And I think most people don't. They just kind of go to that anesthetic we were talking about earlier. Like, here's my life. This is what it's going to be.
Yeah. I had kind of the idea of paying attention to the details. That was always something that was kind of in my mind, the devil's in the details. So I was trying to pay attention to the details of my life. And this idea or the language of, getting rid of chaos That was kind of new to me.
Right.
But I really like that. I like thinking about organizing my life. What are the smaller things that I can do to make my life less chaotic? And then it comes back to this idea of being more intentional.
Yeah.
Pay
Which
attention.
is so huge to, you'll like this. They were talking about like goal setting, and he's like, I just don't understand goals. He's like, if you give people like compelling reasons, they will raise their standards. He's like, goals, everyone sets goals, no one keeps them, blah, blah, blah. But I like that. Like, if you have a compelling reason for something, then you're going to be more likely to do it. And his analogy was he had a family member that died really young of some kind of like a heart disease or something, like something that was like, like preventable.
Right.
So he went to the doctor and he said, this is the best doctor I ever went to. He looked at my charts and he goes, I can't believe those arteries are in that young of a person. And he's like, he could have just said, here's the Crestor and the heart medicine, like go on your way. And he looked at me and he goes, you have kids? He goes, yeah, I have a son and, my wife's due with a daughter in a couple months. And he goes, do you want to go to your son's high school graduation? And then he goes, do you want a stranger to walk your daughter down the aisle?
Right.
And the dude's like, he goes, I wake up every morning and I go, gotta walk her down the aisle, gotta walk her down the aisle. And he's like, that is the first habit that sets up my day. And yeah, I'm at the gym at 4:30 in the morning and I don't miss it because I have got to give myself that chance. And I was like, gosh, so even as it relates to like CrossFit and things we do in the gym, how are you going to motivate someone in the gym? Rah, rah, good job, guys. Or, is this for your long-term health? What are you relating this to? What's your reason for this? I thought that was pretty compelling.
Get outside of self. That's what you said earlier. Get outside of self.
I think you've talked about not being a giant goal setter, and I'm not really either.
Right.
But foundationally, we're looking at life through the lens of our core values. So you're talking about, for me, family is one of my strength values. And so I'm getting up every freaking day thinking about what do I need to do for my family today. I don't really need to set a goal.
Right.
That's inherently a part of what my life is going to be today. I think that I do set small goals outside of the values piece, but the goals are the do. What am I supposed to do? The values are, this is who I am as a human being and what I'm responsible for. So, all of those values, what my purpose is and what my values are always on the forefront of anything. They're the lens that I'm filtering anything that I'm going to do, goal or any sort of action that I'm doing. And because I use that every day. It's not a joke. I literally live through that every day. So instead of really aiming at goals, which I do, I aim first at values.
Right.
And that's kind of how I translate, what I'm going to do today.
I'm starting to see kind of like how all those weave together too. And it's kind of like how you choose your words too. Because it's like, you have your values and instead of goals, you can say habits, disciplines, rituals to implement to get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Your values are there, but how do you, get to that point or remind yourself or whatever that is,
We're kind of talking about the same thing. I think it's just different language in some ways.
Yes.
Only I think there's a really important nuance to some of that. And goals are things you're trying to accomplish and do. Values are they should be kind of the essence of who you are.
Right.
And should be part of your identity.
That should be the top.
Right. And engrafted part of your identity. And that's why I think it's that living that way is powerful in my life and keeps me on track and aimed at what I believe is truth.
Do you think when you're working with people, is it difficult to get them to arrive at like their key values or, their top ones, or does it take time, or is it pretty comes right out of people? I
think the reason why we've set this process up the way we have is that a lot of times people will say people don't understand the power of values. You learned that in your life because of the adversity that you were facing. If you would have just said, I'm gonna make a goal to win the CrossFit Games next year, you'd have ended in the same spot you were. Right. When you said, no, I need to reorganize why I'm doing what I'm doing in my life and really discover who I am, it changed everything.
Right.
And so getting to the CrossFit Games and winning in that next year became a goal, but isn't why you were doing what you were doing.
Right.
So people all the time, when they don't really understand the power and the values, they just go pick 10 cool words.
Right.
Oh yeah, here's 10 cool words, and we see this all around us.
That you think sound good, or that you see other people say are important, and
we deal with it in companies and organizations all the time. They have these values on the wall. They don't even know what they are.
Right.
They're not alive. There's not a breathing, tool
that
they're using. It's just something that's on that wall. It's just words on that wall. So I think you need to go through a process, and it takes some time to kind of really create some tools and then do some work writing so that when you kind of get around to this idea of creating these values, they're super important and you're connected to them. Values should represent your strengths, emotional weaknesses in your life, and then the ideals. We shouldn't be just throwing out 10 words, and because that's kind of a failure, and we see it, failing in our culture all around us. So no, I don't think without a little bit of work, you can come up with 10 words that really represent or that are really valuable. I think you can probably find 2 or 3 that you're really committed to. These are those kind of what we call strength values, because for sure. Yeah. We know right off the bat, faith and family, boom. Easy for us to define, take us seconds. But about the rest of the stuff, I don't know. We haven't really
defined.
Yeah, we haven't defined it. That's not really in language.
That's fair. I like that.
Yeah.
Last question, topic, whatever.
Oh, this is one I thought was really, really interesting.
What was the one that you were so excited to ask me?
This is it.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So.
She texted
drum
me
roll,
last night.
please.
She's like,
Because I was like, I have
so
the best.
excited.
I'm so this is such, because I know you, and I don't.
This better be big.
I love when we're just hanging out and Ellie's like, I have this really exciting thing for the podcast. I can't tell you because I want to wait
because
for
it's
the
in my
podcast.
mind, and I want to talk about it so bad. Anyway, is progress the actual fulfillment, or do you need the medal to feel fulfilled? That's huge.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
I've never asked you that.
He's answered
because you've
this
always
before.
gotten
I
relatively.
was going to say, for really big questions, you might want to ask me more.
Oh, that's good. This is how we do.
I gave him the opportunity
Love
to
it.
ask me what the question was, and he didn't. So I knew that you didn't want to know it.
I mean, what's
Love
hanging below that whiteboard? Right
There you
now?
go. He's already answered
But
this
are you
question.
like if it doesn't go if
What
things
progress? There's nothing to show.
Okay, so for instance, this year, like you're on a team. You can never anticipate what's going to happen. Look at NorCal the first year we won.
Right.
So this year, are you a better version, a better athlete, whatever it is that you want to be through the progress and the countless hours we've spent here and what you've done in your life on a daily basis? Have you grown this year? Are you better? And
Have I grown? Yes. Am I satisfied without a gold medal? No. Have I grown? Yes. Am I a better person? Yes. Would I be happy with anything less than a gold medal? No.
But so it's not always sports related. It's a deeper question of, in life, are you always going to need the medal, or what will your progress be? What are you going to put that on?
It just depends. It depends on what season of my life I'm in. But right now, the season of life that I'm in, that's my goal. Like
right.
In that area of my life, not in me being a father, me being a husband. That's not like me winning a gold medal is not how I define success in that area. But in this part of my life, my profession, is where I make my money right now. Winning a gold, that's my goal in this part of my life.
Right. So I guess what I'm saying is when you're not an athlete someday, well, you'll always be an athlete. That's not true. You'll always be an athlete.
I'll have something that I'm aiming for and that I want to get to or want to have.
But how will you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that until I get to that point. I've never really, honestly, as bad as it's going to sound, I never had a plan. Growing up, I was like, I want to be a professional baseball player. Well, when I got to college baseball, realized college baseball wasn't where I was at. I was like, all right, God, show me what you want me to do next. I was a firefighter. I wanted to be the best firefighter I could be. Was doing fire department stuff. Stumbled across this thing called CrossFit. Didn't even know there was a CrossFit Games. Found out there was a CrossFit Games. All right, I want to win the CrossFit Games. And so I'm sure it's going to be something to do with our business, with Mayhem, but I don't know what that, I don't know what that is. But when it gets to that point, then I'll know what that is.
Yay! See, what a great question. Actually, I don't know if it's a great question, but
That was a great question.
happy.
You've answered this a lot.
Thank you for answering
There's-
that question.
It's just one medal hanging anywhere around here.
Yeah.
And it's a silver medal. And
Yeah.
all the rest of those are in some
in my
closet somewhere.
But that's why I asked that, because knowing you always get the medal because you always put in the work to do it, I mean,
yeah, but there's things outside of our circumstances, and last year we just came up short. Like, it was just what happened. They were better than us, and just doesn't sit well. So I mean, that this whole year's been aimed at that silver medal. That hey, we're gonna.
It's not stupid. That's stupid
Hopefully,
silver medal.
hopefully, it can come down in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
That's the goal.
I like it.
Do you have any input on that?
No, I can't say that any better.
All right.
Well done.
iTunes reviews. CrossFitMayhem.com. New apparel.
New t-shirts.
Launched new
Yeah.
t-shirts.
There it is.
Cool t-shirts.
Cool t-shirts. Mayhem or Die will come out again in a white. Nice. We're gonna do a little.
Do it in white.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little sale on. You pick a couple shirts and get a discount with the game shirts that we're gonna wear. Well, that the crowd's gonna wear at the games.
Got any more hats left?
We're ordering more Brandon Bill's hats because those went really well.
Those look great. I don't even have one. I need one. Jeez, what's a guy got to do?
What's a mindset guru got to do around here today?
They sold so fast that we kind of don't have any left.
I had to rip them off bodies.
what
I
I
had to give away one of mine.
I was going to say, what I have to do is pay for one. That's what I got to do.
No, we'll get you one. All right, leave us comments, concerns, questions on YouTube. No, not on YouTube, on iTunes.